So all the kids are going back to school. Why shouldn't the adults have a school to go to? And that is why we're at the Northman. Yes, this Monday night cider school, really cool tonight. It's already sold out, but it's not going to be the last one. Don't worry. Just as an example, they are doing a school on different rosés of cider. But before we even get to the different classes that you can participate in, we wanted to fill you in a little bit on what the Northman is. Maybe you hadn't heard of it. It's still kind of young, just over 2 years old, and it is like the baby of Brian. So Brian, you're the cider director. You came up with this concept, and if I may say, you're cider obsessed.
I am. I got a nickname years ago as Cider Brian. It seems a bit redundant now as the cider director at a cider bar.
Brian, the cider director at the cider pub.
It's a bit too much, but just know that we adore cider. We have beer, we have wine, we have cocktails, but we have over 100 ciders from around the world here. We put the spotlight on hard cider.
It's cool too because we just have a small sampling of those, about 150 different ciders that you guys have. What is the draw, the appeal? Why did you become the cider guy?
Well, I think for so long, so many people maybe had one or two cider experiences when they were younger, and they may or may not have enjoyed it, thinking that was all there was to cider. But I knew that there was this whole big wide world of cider available, and that if we could just spotlight it and show people the wide range of ciders from all over the world, not just every corner in America, but every corner of Europe, South America, all over the place.
Well, and more than just ciders too. Go back to that last shot you were just showing. Check this bottle out. There's a full apple in there, and I looked at you. I'm like, how did that happen?
Right. So
give me the story.
Every so often they'll make gift bottles out in the orchard, and you'll see in the spring they'll take empty glass bottles and tie them onto the apple tree and let each little fruit grow inside. And then when the time is right, cut that out, snip off the branch, and you've got a fully formed apple inside the glass.
That's
of course,
so
you preserve that by filling it up with 80 proof apple brandy, or what's called French Calvados.
So not even just cider at the bar, other apple-based alcohol and drinks.
Absolutely,
and
apple spirits.
So, tell me a little bit more about that. Calvados.
Yeah, no, Calvados.
Calvados.
Calvados. It sounds like a Spanish word, but it's actually from a small region in northern France. It is cider that has been distilled. So much like whiskey, you barrel age it, so you get a lot of those big, bold flavors. But it's all apple-based. So it's an apple brandy that's been aged in oak.
Let's talk about some of the other cool options that you have here. I think this was one that you really wanted to point out.
Sure, we do have a couple meads here at the Northman, and mead is, of course, honey wine. It's the oldest libation that humans stumbled onto, and so it's honey that's been infused with other botanics, and that's a 19% honey wine from Denmark.
So anyone out there that's thinking, oh, it's a drink that's based on fruit, what's that going to do to me? Come have some Viking blood.
Sure, exactly.
That's all I would say to you.
Yeah.
In addition to the cider schools, you guys do special events like something happening this Wednesday.
That's right. So every so often we get some of our friends in the business to come in, different cider makers, and this week we have Virtue Cider from Michigan. They're going to be in the house. Dave Wilson's one of the reps from Virtue. He'll be here with his crew. Him and the cider makers up at the farm have put together a specialty firkin for us. Ooh. So we'll be tapping a rare oak-aged Brettanomyces firkin with cherries, right, David?
Wow.
Sheer-beet cherries.
Ooh. And though you are a bit of a cider guy yourself, for right now you're just attending cider school with us. So we have dived in. We've got a little rosé example here. And why don't you just give us a taste of what a cider school would be like? And David and I are the students.
Sure. A lot of times I'm up and around walking, visiting people, trying to give them a little bit of an introduction on what cider is, how it's made, some of the history of it in our country. And then we'll dive right in, and folks will have some snacks on the table, and I'll ask them to dive in and taste the first cider. The first one we do have is the Virtue Rosé cider.
So I'll taste the first one. David, you taste the second one. I feel like you know the Virtue one already, just a guess. But go ahead. So what is this one?
So Virtue Rosé. Rosé ciders are popular because they're light, they're accessible, adding a little bit of depth of flavor by adding in hibiscus in this case and other sorts of botanicals to add not just color, but a little sharpness, a little depth of character and flavor.
Okay, and then what was the second one?
So the second one, Seattle Cider Company, the Gravenstein Rose.
Did you try that one?
I have not.
Give it a try, quick, faster, faster. Okay, what do you think?
It's sweet. It's delicious.
Like any rosé would be. We haven't really dived into what cider is.
Right, so at the base level, cider is apples fermented. It's made very much like wine.
Okay.
It's never brewed. You're not applying heat and coaxing sugars out. It's crushed fruit, adding yeast, and fermenting it. Now, it's experienced in a lot of ways like craft beer, because those are the folks who are adventurous, want to jump in and explore, but there's no such thing as cider beer. There's cider, there's wine, there's beer. They're all unique, different.
But even within this world of cider,
Absolutely.
there are different kinds, such as Spanish ciders. And before you do the pour, let me just hook you up there. All right, so this is a unique way, and maybe you've seen it before in the jam or a different bar, but this is how you do a proper Spanish cider.
So Spanish cider is naturally wild yeast fermented, unsweetened, uncarbonated, and so you want to bring it back to life by pouring it overhand like this.
Oh, man. Oh.
And now you've got that frothy drink coming to life.
And you drink it right away, right?
You don't have to chug it, but you just drink it, you enjoy it, and you want to get that quality going. Yeah, sharp. It's like
That's a good word
unsweetened
for it.
lemonade.
Now, that is the popular way, the way that it has been done in the bar scene. However, you guys have something unique here that's a bit more traditional. Show this off real quick while we have some time.
So, typically they pour it out of giant barrels and it spits into the room and you catch it in a glass. We don't have all that much room here, so we let it fall straight from the sky.
Check this out, guys. That is here at the Northman. So if you want to experience a Spanish cider the proper way, come to the Northman. Anyone out there that's like, what's Chip doing? He's drinking this early on a Monday morning. First of all, it's a fantastic Monday. But second of all, there's some historical information to back up me drinking on a Monday morning. And that's why I've got Brian joining me once again to tell us about the American history of cider.
Yeah. Cider was the drink of America. I mean, early colonial settlers came here. They brought apples with them. They immediately started making cider because it was quintessential to safely settle the frontier. It was clean drinking, right? You couldn't trust the stream water, but fermented apple juice you knew was good for you, and they had it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
So it's patriotic to be drinking at 7 a.m. on a Monday morning. That's all I'm going to say.
One thing I know, Chip, is you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning.
That's true. So sip that. David, sip the first one, and then tell me why we're trying this with that.
This is an English cider, but I wanted to tell the story of American cider because it's more rough, more rustic. It's dry, bitter, absolutely no sugar left in here because all of it's been converted into alcohol.
David, is what he's saying matching up with what you're tasting?
It sure does. I would say it's a high mineral content
Oh, interesting.
and really dry. It's pretty awesome.
And then the second one, just because I'm out of time, but I'm still going to drink it after the fact, it is like a modern day version
Right, so this
of
is
that
from Farnham
historic.
Hill. Farnham Hill Ciders in New Hampshire. He's sort of taken the old American tradition into the future and has led this cider renaissance.
And as you can tell, Brian has a ton of information in his head.